Boot Camp. I'm Zoe Whitman. I'm here with Jo Wood, and we're really excited to be joined by Catherine Morgan. Hi, Catherine. How are you?
Hi, guys. Yeah, I'm so great. Thanks so much for inviting me to come and join you today. I'm excited.
We're super excited. It's our first session of Bookkeepers Boot Camp. We know that over 500 people have registered to be here this week. So we've got lots of sessions happening over the week. We're streaming live into our Six Figure Bookkeepers Club. If you haven't already joined us, come and make sure you're there. And we've got loads of guests speaking to us between today and Thursday, all around how to build your business during the recession, how to rethink your goals, how to have conversations with your clients. And we just thought starting this week with a conversation with you, Catherine, is it's just a perfect fit, really, given your background. But I wonder if you can start by telling us a little bit about your background and what you do.
Yeah, of course. So I've been in finance for about 25 years. I used to be a qualified financial advisor. And when I got into my 30s, I had a real light bulb moment in my career where, I've been giving people advice on how to manage money, how to invest money, how to save tax, all of the things. And I wasn't doing any of it myself. I had a terrible relationship with money. I would make loads of money and spend loads of money, make loads of money and spend loads of money. And it wasn't until when my second son was born and we almost lost him to bacterial meningitis that I kind of continued to repeat these overspending cycles, and I was diagnosed with PTSD. And Thomas is a very healthy 9-year-old boy now. But at the time, I used money as a way to make myself feel better about myself. Like, I thought that having more money was the solution to everything. I thought that buying more clothes, copying what other people were doing was going to make me feel more self-fulfilled. And it didn't. I would end up in these huge, what I call fawning cycles. I would people please, I would overwork, I would undercharge, overdeliver, all of the things. And it wasn't really until I got into my 30s that I really understood the psychology of money and what makes us make decisions around money, and most of which are not logical. Like, we don't make logical decisions around money. I'm sure you probably see this with your clients. And I went on this huge discovery with myself around coaching, therapy. I studied lots of psychology modalities, things like NLP as well, and the energy of money qualifications. And I basically just started writing about my own journey and how I managed to get myself out of £35,000 worth of debt into running, several multi-six-figure businesses. And I just started writing about it, and I was sharing my story, and we launched a podcast almost 4 years ago now. And the stories that we were sharing, like, other women were like, oh yeah, like, I really resonate with that, like, can you help me with this? And we just started to build a community. And now we support women in our consumer community to improve their relationship with money. And then we also developed an actual coaching program specifically for financial professionals so that they could, first of all, better understand their own relationship with money, and then go and help their clients to not just make the practical decisions in their businesses to, help them to manage their cash flow better, but also to have a better emotional relationship with money. Because the way that we feel about money is really a mirror reflection of the way we feel about ourselves.
Oh, yeah. That's deep, Catherine. That is deep. And what a way to start a Monday morning. So I think in this industry, and us as, we are financial experts and advisors. And so then when we start thinking about money, and also we have to sign, when we have our professional licenses and everything, there's that box to say you can never have been bankrupt, and you can, there are lots of things. So to start having an honest conversation with ourselves and feeling about really what is our money, language, and how are we, because we put on this professional front, and sometimes it forces us to kind of hide the fact that, well, we should be really good with money because that's what we do for a living, and that's not always the case. And I think it's okay to know that not every finance professional has always got this right, and that there might be a whole multitude of reasons why our relationship with money isn't great, but it doesn't make you a bad person.
Yeah, and what's interesting about what you said, Joe, is I'm really curious to someone's language that they use with money, and it's a really good indicator as to what kind of behaviors or the ways that we may self-sabotage when it comes to our relationship with money, is to get curious to your language. And the word that I was hearing there for you, Joe, was should. Like, we should be good with money because we've done financial qualifications, so we should know everything there is to know about money. We should be, we should all be multimillionaires, and we should be managing cash flow with complete ease, and in reality, that's not the case, because a lot of our own relationship with money is emotional. And where that comes from often is all the influences that we have grown up on, from what parents taught us about money or didn't teach us about money, or caregivers, or what society taught us about money. I mean, you only have to think about the movies that we watched growing up. I mean, I'm in my early 40s, and so I watched, films where women were rescued by the prince, and it was all about waiting for joy to come. It was about waiting to be rescued. It was about rich women being mean and greedy or selfish, and even just the films that we were exposed to, the rags to riches stories, Mary Poppins and everything that, those kind of films taught us about money. So there's a whole logical piece over here, a practical piece, but there's also a big emotional piece. And when we should on ourselves, we set expectations that are likely not achievable expectations, or they're expectations that we think we should do because everybody else is doing it, or society is telling us that we have to do this. And it creates a huge amount of guilt and a huge amount of shame. And it's those emotions that keep us stuck. It's those emotions that keep your clients from picking up the phone and saying, I'm having a bit of a tricky time at the moment. Can we have a conversation about money? Because they'll just bury their heads in the sand, because they're filled with this intense experience in the body, which causes stress, anxiety. You can literally feel it, can't you? You know what it's like. You've had a client who's cancelled on you or left, and you're like, oh, what's wrong with me? What have I done wrong? And then we go into this massive spiral of, I need to do some more qualifications. I'm not good enough. Like, all of these self-sabotaging language that we start using with ourselves, which is so interesting, given that money has no emotional charge, but it's the perception or the meaning that we give to it, to this, physical piece of paper or this bit of metal. We load it up with emotions because of our own experiences.
Oh my gosh, there's so much there that I'm like, yep, tick, 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 tick. Like, Joe and I run a business together, and there are definitely conversations we have where I come with like baggage from, growing up with a single parent and all of that. And it ties into like decisions you make around how you want to spend money and whether you want to like save it or whatever your thoughts are. So I'm completely with you around the emotional things. And I think it's only when you've done that work and realize that's what's going on that you can change the way you think about what your decisions are going to be made in business. You said at the beginning, you were talking about how having more money might be the solution to everything, like how I just need to get some more money and then everything's going to be okay. And I think that often that's a conversation that people will be having, but this is something that comes up a lot in our community, where people are thinking about growing their businesses and, or if I just had another client and I had a bit more money coming in, everything will be okay. But we're in this situation at the moment where all of the news is telling us that there's a recession, and we're hearing messaging that things are hard, people don't want to spend money, things are costing more. So we've got a lot of people thinking, I just need to bring a bit more money in. But at the same time, we might be feeling that, well, actually the money's going to run out. It's going to everything's going to stop, and my business is going to have to go like on pause, or what am I going to do? And I just wonder what your thoughts are around like how we can manage those feelings.
Yeah, such a great question. And, going back to what you were saying about the news is telling us we're in a recession. We are in a recession, but we've been here before many times, and we will be here again many times in the future. The important thing is to think about both sides of this. It's about, what are some of the practical things that I can actually do to future-proof my own sense of safety and security, which is what money does. Money brings that essence of safety and security. Now, having more money doesn't necessarily bring more safety and security. We might think it does, but how many of you are overspenders? How many of you find yourself receiving money, but then you'll spend it? And often the reason that we do is because we don't actually feel safe to keep hold of it. So when you say having more money is the answer, it's not always the answer. So this is where the key is to have a look at what is your relationship with money, and what is your relationship with money first before you go and help your clients. Because there is a potential for your own beliefs to actually influence your client's relationship with money. You know, if you're a saver, of course you're going to be talking to your clients about save more money, just put some more money in your emergency fund. And your client might be an emotional overspender and they're like, okay. And then their little inner critic is going, but I know that's not going to happen. Like, because I'm bad at money. I'm terrible at managing money. I'm not good with maths. I'm an overspender, and all of the self-sabotaging beliefs come out. So I really believe that when you talk to Zoe about, I need to just find some more clients, that it is a need energy. Can you feel that? It's like, I need to, like, it's like a desperation. It's like an anxious pull to, I need to go and do this thing. And when anyone's in a need energy in business, it's never a good energy to be in, because then we're desperate. We're putting pressure on ourselves to, you know, go and do all these things on social media or however you're finding your clients. And it's always much more loving to yourself to come from a place of, well, what do I already have? Like, let's just ground ourselves in, what do I already have? What am I grateful for? You know, real kind of abundance or gratitude energy is always going to get you better results. It's always going to make you feel better, rather than being in this constant need and chasing. Like, how many of us chase clients for invoice payments, and it feels horrible because you feel like you're chasing for it, and it's not a nice energy to be in. So even just the change of your language, not I need to go and find 10 more clients. I would really love to go and find 10 more clients, and just the energy, it will really make a big difference just to change that narrative with yourself. And then, of course, there's some super practical things that you can think about when we are in times of recession. We know that when we're in recession, things are rising in cost, whether that's your mortgage, whether that's your subscriptions in your business, whether that's your food, you know, that petrol, there's always going to be increases in cost of living. And so one of the things, and this is relevant whether you're in a recession or not, but actually knowing your numbers and forecasting a little bit forward. Well, you don't have to have a 5-year business plan in place or a 10-year business plan in place, because, you know, most of us will have a plan and then we won't stick to it anyway because we want to evolve. But knowing 3 months, 6 months in advance, where's your cash flow coming from? Do you have clients at the moment who you're manually invoicing that you could just pop onto a retainer, automate those payments, so that you've got that guarantee or safety or stability of that revenue coming into your business? And maybe this is an opportunity to look at other ways that you could be creating more revenue in your business, other creative ways of bringing additional revenue in. And when you look at monthly recurring revenue, or MRR, MRR is always a great way to bring in that stability when you're in a period of instability. You know, so could you have a client working with you for a year and, you know, 5 clients working with you for a 12-month package? You've got, you know, it's not guaranteed, but it's a pretty stable way of bringing more revenue into your business. Is there another way that you could package your service in a way that would support your client more and also give you more stability with your revenue? But a lot of this is about knowing your numbers, really knowing your numbers, and not from a place of guilt or shame, but from a place of, okay, cool, now I know where I stand. What decisions can I make to perhaps redirect some of my expenditure somewhere else, or perhaps redirect some of the softwares that we're using, or let's bring another team member in rather than spending £100 a month on memberships I'm not using. And that £100 a month might free up 5 hours a week of your time, and you can use that 5 hours a week to go and start a podcast, or work with more clients, or take that time back for yourself so that you feel more fulfilled and more joyful with your own well-being. So there's kind of two sides to it.
I love what you said about that feeling when I need more clients. And we see that a lot in the group. Like, how do you get more clients? Get, need. It's a horrible feeling. And something that I have learned over the many years, 20 odd years of being in business, and where I've been in that I need more clients a lot. And it's just coming from a place of lack. And you end up attracting those clients that
are in lack,
need your services, but they're in lack and they don't want to pay for your services. It's not good. So something that I do now is, when I'm feeling that, I think, how can I help more people? How can I help? What can I do right now to help people that don't know about what it is that I can do? How can I express more, the value that I can bring? And so that might be by doing something like a masterclass for free, and just letting people know this is what I do to help, or maybe doing a post and talking about an experience that I've had, obviously no names, but how I've helped somebody do something. How can I help? How can I help? How can I help? And when you push that out there more, then you attract people that they need your help, but they also see you as valuable at that point. And there's oftentimes, I've got a growing business, I've got growing staff members where I've got more capacity and my wages bill's high, and maybe someone's, come to the end of their agreement, or, for whatever reason we've parted, and there's capacity. And yeah, I do need some more work to fulfill that, to make everything balance. But as soon as I stop thinking I need, and right, okay, so who needs help? Right, then the first thing I do is go back to the clients I've got now. Okay, where have we not told somebody that there's something else we can do for them? What is somebody going through right now and they could do with a little project of work that we could do with them and help them out? Is that something they want? Starting to talk to the clients you've already got and seeing how many clients I get coming to me and they go, and I often say to them, I'm sure your accountant could do this for you. I do this because I never want I'm not trying to poach. Have you spoken to your current accountant? They could do this for you. And lots of them say, yeah, I mentioned it, but then they never gave me a quote, or they didn't do that. And so lots of people can do the work you're doing, but they haven't got the space, so they don't need that work at the time. So then they don't offer it. So it's really interesting. And maybe, is there anyone in your client base that actually wants more from you and would be willing to pay?
I think that's such a great point, Jo, is that it's much easier to make more money from your existing loyal, happy clients than it is to go and find new clients. And again, it's that need energy. It's that, I need more. You don't necessarily need more clients. And one of the accountants who's in my mastermind, for example, she's just made an extra £1,000 a month from just contacting her existing clients and saying, hey, I've been paying for your Xero subscription for you for the last 5 years. We are now going to add this to your invoice because of the benefits that it's offering to your business. Is this okay? And she had 1 out of 100 clients who said, nah, I'm not really sure about this. Everybody else was like, yeah, cool. And could you just remind me, like, how does this work? And so she did this little video series for them. And it was extra revenue for her because she was over giving. So one of the things that you said, Jo, is about being of service to your clients. And absolutely 100%. If you're in service, you're always going to come from a place of joy. But just be careful that servicing doesn't turn into overgiving. And especially for women, there's a very high psychological response called fawning when we overgive. And you'll know this with your relationship with money as well. If you're the sort of person who spends money on everybody else. And if there's anything left, you might go and treat yourself. But the thought of going to treat yourself feels really hard. Like there's a lot of guilt maybe there of, oh, I can't, I'll spend it on my kids, that's fine, but I'm not going to spend that on myself. And one of the things that we talk to the women in our communities about is if you do have fear of giving to yourself, you often will end up in over-servicing, over-delivering, over-giving. And that's when you get into burnout, and that's not a good place to be in business. So come from a place of service, but also come from a place of, what are your needs as the business owner? Are your needs being met first? And it's like the oxygen mask analogy, isn't it? If you are coming from a full cup, everything in your business is bringing you joy, your services that you're delivering are bringing you joy, then you're going to attract more people because you're in a place of feeling good about your business and your needs are being met, your well-being needs are being met as well. So just be careful of the little fawning, people-pleasing, over-giving behavior that can come out from time to time.
That's really interesting. I'm waiting to see the comments. I think there'll be people who say, yeah, that's me. You mentioned about how sometimes because we've done our financial training and we're numbers people, and people think, they look at you and they think, well, that's someone who's going to be sorted, whether that's the case or not, as we've just established. Yeah. We need our clients to speak to us right now because we can help them potentially with something we haven't helped them with before. And we really need to understand, I really believe that we need to understand our clients really well to be able to serve them in the best way. But you mentioned, they might be afraid to pick up the phone and have that conversation with us because they think we're going to judge them or tell them they should do something that they don't feel able to do, but they don't realize that they're not able to do that. How can we encourage people right now who are kind of burying their head in the sand potentially around their finances? How can we encourage them to have a conversation without, I don't know what I think we might be doing, but just to, encourage them to know that we're there and we're kind of like a friend there on their side?
Yeah, it's such a great question. And there's kind of two ways to look at this. You could be quite proactive with that, or the other thing, which is what we encourage our financial coaches to do, is to put it on your websites, send it out in your email communications or your newsletters, share case studies of clients that you supported. And this is where, we are really passionate about helping accountants and bookkeepers and financial professionals to have the tools available to them to open up these conversations. And we do this we have a coaching tools program where we give the financial professional all of the tools and the questions that they can use with their clients to have those conversations. But I really believe that all of you can do this through how you're communicating to your clients, because most accountants and bookkeepers, certainly ones that I've worked with, their websites are pretty much the same. They're like, we do bookkeeping, we do tax planning, and it's like, cool, because I need that stuff. But what differentiates you from one accountant to another or one bookkeeper to another? If you were to have something on your website or on your socials where you're having open conversations with clients about money, and that might be open conversations like what we're having right now, is going to just normalize these conversations. It's okay to be in a place of fear. It's okay to be burying your head in the sand, but you can do it in a way that makes it fun and makes it just easier to have conversations. Like when we did this in our community recently, we were in our PJs with a cup of tea talking about money. Like, we have to normalize these conversations. So I think that the question here is around, you could be really proactive and you could send a newsletter out to your client and share a story, and this might be your story. It could be a made up story. It could be one of your clients. It doesn't really matter, but share a story about, it's okay right now if you're feeling fearful to look at your Xero account. It's okay if you're worried about how you're going to make money in your business. We are here to have a really great conversation with you, to support you with no guilt, no shame, no judgment. You craft a really nice story around that. And the client's going to read that and think, oh, thank God I'm not the only one who feels like this. Thank God I'm not the only one who is worried. And we find that having conversations in groups is really supportive as well. Like some people are always like really quiet at the start because they don't really want to, you know, own up to the fact that this is them. But give them questions to ask of themselves. Questions like, what did I learn about money growing up? What's the common feeling that I have around money? How is this supporting me in my business? How is this challenging me or sabotaging me in my business? And what could I do differently? It's inviting those questions in.
I think what you said, I love the idea of bringing this into like your marketing and your website, and this is the way, and setting that kind of, you know, the scene that this is how I am. And something that I do is, you know, bring these conversations into the discovery call, like right at the beginning. So when the first, you know, and I always say this, I did a training the other week about, you know, how to run a discovery call. And I'm always like, you've got 2 ears, 1 mouth. You should be listening twice as much as speaking. Is if you go into a discovery call and thinking, I've got to sell. Actually, what the person wants to do is come in and tell you why they're there. And that's, so the question I often ask you, so why did you start your business? What got you excited? What did you, like, you made that jump, that leap. I want to go back to emotions and feelings and set the scene of our relationship. I'm not asking you, what was your last year's corporation tax bill? I don't care. Who are you? So, you know, who's in your family? Who is this business supporting? How many shareholders? What's their businesses like? What's their families like? You know, do you do the school run, or do you try and have some time off? This, try and get to like the heart center of the business. And then I often ask, so what brought you here? How have you not been supported with your current finance professional? That kind of thing. So then they tell me all the reasons, because they're leaving somebody. But the other thing the reason I do that is that because I think people have made, the reason they're speaking to you right now is because at some point in the past, they chose somebody else as a finance professional, bookkeeper and accountant, and they made a mistake because it's not worked out. So actually, you're not trying to sell yourself or your services. You're trying to sell them some certainty that they're okay and they can make a good decision. So I try to big them up in that discovery call, and a bit like, wow, so you started your business then and you had nothing, and now you've got this and you've got this amount of staff, and, you know, that's, you know, you've come this far. Because I think I think sometimes we think of these sales calls and these new prospects as really like big, scary, like, oh, they must be amazing at business and they're this and that, and they're going to come and judge me and they're going to judge my prices. And that's not the case. Usually they're coming to you really vulnerable.
And what I love about that, Jo, is what you've just shared there is exactly the one most important thing that matters between the relationship with your business and your clients is communication. It's the most important thing. And a great question I always like to invite in my discovery calls with clients is, if we were to work together in some way, so I don't know what that looks like right now, how will you know when we're done? How will you be feeling? What will you be doing differently? And how can I best support you in that journey, in that relationship together? Because some of your clients will be super visual. They'll want you to do cash flow forecasts so they can see all the pie charts, and they can plan everything and have all of their spreadsheets in place. You know, they're high architects, we call them. Some of them might be like, oh God, don't even get me to look at a spreadsheet. I have no idea what my numbers are. They're very impulsive, very spontaneous. Those clients will need to be supported very differently. That's me. The way I have to work with my accountant is I have to have at least a quarterly call with them, if not monthly. And I need to know that there's flex in my financial forecasting to allow for me to make impulsive decisions, because not because I'll overspend, but because I like to say yes to opportunities when I see them. Whereas an architect, a high planner, won't do that, because they'll be like, it's not in the plan, so I'm going to say no. And the action taking is harder for them. But for the impulsive story type, these pictures you can see in the background here, these are different individual relationships to money, will behave differently with money. So if you can support them in where they're at to maybe become a bit less impulsive, but that's still supportive, that doesn't feel restrictive. Or maybe you can support them to still plan ahead, but still have some impulsiveness available in their financial numbers. Can you see there that already the relationship, the value that you bring is totally different? And that's just two of the archetypes that I'm talking about here. So communication, how can I best support you? What is the biggest challenge that you found with your numbers in your business? Like, let's be really honest about this. What does support you? Do you love spreadsheets? Do you hate them? Do you want to see them? Do you not want to see them? Like, how can I best support you in this relationship is a really, really good question, so that you know, is that client the kind of client I want to support? First question, because they might not be. You might think, do you know what? I actually think you'd be better to work with this person. Let me introduce you to them. And it's okay to say no to clients who don't fit the avatar, the ideal client that you want to serve. Remember, this is about you serving, your cup being full first. So communication is so important.
Oh, I love this so much. Okay, so this is really helpful for thinking about how we adapt ourselves to our clients. Joe and I talk about having an ideal client a lot of the time, and there are people who will definitely say, no, I'll work with anyone and I'll work however they want. But actually, this is a way to kind of have, you mentioned flex. This is almost like how you can flex working with your ideal client, but just adapting yourself to their kind of needs and their ways of thinking around money. So I really love that. But what it really segues into nicely is, we've spoken so much about how we help with our clients with their goals and meeting their goals and their needs right now. But what about our own goals and our own needs? Because we're also, we're hearing, this is changing, the world's different. That's putting a level of stress on people in our community, definitely. How do we need to reconnect with our own goals right now? And how should we be setting goals for the future?
Yeah, I love that. So the first thing is turn off the news. I just think there's so much scarcity. There is so much fear around right now, and it will be influencing how you feel, and it will influence the goals that you're setting yourself. Because when we hear all this chaos, all this uncertainty, how does that make us feel? Uncertain, unsafe, insecure, in need energy. So the first thing is turn off the news, and even things on your social feed, like get rid of all the things that are just making you feel like that. If you read a post and it makes you feel, just hide it for a while. Or there's a little function you can, on Facebook, certainly, you can just pause any notifications from that person for a while, So that's the first thing I would do, because if we're going to connect in with our goals, I'm not a big believer in goal planning. Now, I'm a financial expert, so to hear that, you might think, well, that's a bit weird. But goals are setting a celebration moment or a target of something you want to achieve into the future. Now, the future is full of uncertainty. We have no idea what's going to happen this afternoon, let alone what's going to happen in 12 months' time. So what we're doing is we're setting that celebration or that thing that we want into the future. Okay. I'm a big believer in bringing the future into the present, because we don't want to wait. Why do we want to wait? Why do we want to wait until we can achieve something or celebrate something or hit a milestone? We can bring it into the present moment. And we do that through intentions, setting intentions with yourself. There's quite a big difference between intention setting and goal setting. Goal setting is quite masculine energy. It's do energy. It's I have to do more in order to reach that goal. And then if we don't reach the goal, we feel like a failure. And then so we don't set big goals anymore and we play small. It's a sabotaging cycle. So don't set your goals in the future. Create them now. Where are you already experiencing joy with your health? Where are you already experiencing joy with the money that you're already creating? Where are you already experiencing that? And set some intentions about how you want to feel in the future. So is it you want more joy in your life? Is it that you want more certainty? Is it that you want more spaciousness? Is it that you want more connection? You know, so if you set a goal on intention, on connection, as an example, this is one of my goals this year. What can I be doing on a day-by-day basis to bring more connection into my life? Having these kind of conversations makes me feel wholly connected, because I work from home, I'm by myself most of the time. So this makes me feel connected. I don't have to wait for this to happen. I can make this possible right now. So think about, rather than setting, you know, unrealistic goals way in the future, we don't hit them, then we feel like a failure. Bring them into the present moment and think about, what do you already have available to you? Bring all that gratitude energy into your body. And this is, I know this might sound a bit woo-woo to people, but it really isn't. It's just a intention of, I'm going to claim it now. I'm not waiting for it to happen.
So just thinking on that. We're quite practical and thinking about, so we've got lots of people here that are studying to become qualified bookkeepers, qualified accountants. And so if your goal this year is obviously to reach that qualification, can you explain to us how we turn that into like an intention for today, so that we know that we are, how do we know that because there are some things that are going to take time to achieve, and we know that there are quite a few things like implementing a software into our business, or setting up an email list, or, you know, creating a website. There's these things that are to-dos. So how do we bring those together? And I love the idea of feeling, and I think I do. I've got whenever I have a little thing in my mind, I kind of write it on a list, and then I love to tick off things all the time, that, and like a bit of a to-do list rather than a to-do list, you know. And if I do something, I'm like, oh, I'm going to write that on the list even though I've done it, because it makes me feel like, oh, look at what I've achieved. So yeah. I love this. But when you've got a big thing that's coming up, how do we bring that into an intention rather than a goal? How do we turn it around?
Yeah, it's a small step, isn't it? Like, not everything has to be goal related. Like, if you're studying for a qualification, you know the end goal is to get the qualification. You don't have to put yourself under pressure around that being the goal. So it's about bringing things more into intentions of movement, if you like. And what you said, Jo, about, like, I love putting things on my to-do list and ticking it off, like I get a sense of achievement. We all want this sense of achievement. There's actually some really interesting research done between men and women, actually, of women are much better at to-do lists because they like that feeling of, tick, I've done it, I've achieved something. But again, think about that's an energetic exchange, isn't it? It's a I've done something, I've done a good job. But we don't have to have something on our to-do list to tick it off to feel good about ourselves. That's about how we feel about our sense of self. That's our sense of self-worth. But I think if we think about the movement or the intention, you may have an intention to sit your qualification and build your business this year. That's the intention. So if the intention is to build the business, is that growth? Maybe that's the intention, is the feeling I want to experience is growth in my business, growth in my qualifications, growth in my business. So what do you do every day that makes you feel like you have grown in your business? And so therefore, suddenly everything that you do that ticks that growth intention feels great. And we get that sense of achievement without, for example, saying as an alternative, I'm going to grow my business to 6 figures this year. I'm going to make 100K. So if we don't hit 100K, then we feel like a failure. Whereas if the intention is, I'm going to grow my business this year, you're going to be setting that intention from a place of pleasure rather than coming away from a place of pain. So there's lots of research to show that when we set an intention or a goal, whatever language, it doesn't really matter, but it's the movement here that it makes the difference. If you're setting an intention or a goal based on something that's fueling you towards something, that's going to be far more realistic. You're going to be much more likely to make movement in that direction than if you're setting a goal that is to get away from something that doesn't feel good. For example, I'm in debt. I need to make 100 grand to pay off my debt. Because what happens is, it's a bit like dieting. We we're like, I'm a stone overweight, I need to lose a stone. So we build all this momentum. Great, I'm going to go to the gym, I'm going to not eat chocolate, I'm going to reduce my alcohol content, etc. We lose the weight, and then the momentum disappears because we've reached the goal. And then it's like, oh, okay. And then the weight comes back on again, because the brain is like, so where's the motivation again? Where's the motive? Oh, hold on. Yeah, I remember the motivation was when I was a stone overweight. So let me just put that stone back on again. So then I can feel bad about myself. And then the whole cycle starts again. Okay. So this is where intentions are much better, because they're going to be more longer lasting, whether we're in a recession or not. And you're going to be much more likely to continue with that momentum and that feeling, rather than just setting yourself a goal of, for example, I'm going to make 100K in my business this year.
Oh, this is great, because it's like thinking, you know, I've lost baby weight a couple of times, and I suppose it's like thinking I'm already in that healthy body. And like when you're doing that and you're experiencing life as a healthy person, you're making the choices because you already see yourself in that identity. And I suppose, you know, this whole week is about growing your business despite whatever else is happening around us. And actually, if we can all get in, and maybe growth isn't the word for everybody, but growth is definitely the word Joe and I have been using as we've been promoting this week. If you can put yourself in that mindset of I'm growing, it helps you to make the decisions that are helping you to continue with that growth. So maybe a great activity for anyone who's watching this is to think, well, for 2023, what is that word I want to be carrying with me that's going to help me to feel that, yes, I'm making those incremental movements that are helping me to achieve this feeling I want.
And you're already doing it. That's the key, isn't it, Zoe? You're already doing it. So it's not in the future. It's already in the present day. You're already doing it.
Oh, Catherine, thank you so much for chatting to us this morning. It's been really amazing. And like so many people, I can see that about 120 people have been here watching this session first thing on a Monday morning. So well done, everyone who's been here. Thank you so much for your time. Catherine, can you tell us a bit about how people can connect with you and find out more about what you do?
Yeah, of course. The best ways to connect with us is come and listen to our podcast. It's Not About the Money. Or if you head to itsnotaboutthemoney.com, you can grab a free copy of my Amazon best-selling book. And I think you guys have some links and details as well if you want to do our quiz, or if you want to explore some of the coaching tools that we can support you to go and have those conversations with your clients. But more importantly, to get curious to your own relationship with money first, because then by changing your relationship with money, it's an opportunity for you to not just change your own relationship with money, but change every single future generation ahead of you. And that's really powerful. So yeah, or come and connect with me on Instagram. I'm Catherine Morgan Money on Instagram.
Thank you, Catherine. Thanks everyone who's been here. We're going to be back at 1 o'clock. We're having a chat with Emma James from the Number Ninja about her practice, and we look forward to seeing you later on. Take care. Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.